Today is May 31st, 2025. The question today is, was Eritrean separation from Ethiopia justifiable? To answer this fairly, we must balance historical grievances, legal principles, political manipulation, and consequences. My name is Abebe Negash. I'm bringing this to you on behalf of Ethiopian Hearts for Peace and African Hearts for Peace. Let's dive into it. Number one, historical background. Was the demand for separation legitimate? That's the first question we have to ask. Colonial legacy. Eritrea was an Italian colony from 1890 and then under British administration and later federated with Ethiopia in 1952. By a UN resolution. This federation was abolished unilaterally by Emperor Haile Selassie in 1962, annexing Eritrea as a province. Brothers and sisters, that ignited a long war of independence. Also true is the cultural and political alienation. Many Eritreans, especially from Muslim lowland areas, felt marginalized and oppressed under Ethiopian central rule, particularly under the monarchy and later by Derg. So where all of this leads to? Armed struggle. See, the Eritrean People Liberation Front, EPLF, waged a 30-year war which ended with Eritrea's de facto independence in 1991 and formal independence through a UN-supervised referendum in 1993, with over 99% voting for separation. Remember, this vote includes only Eritreans, never include Ethiopians. So, let's see the justifiability of this. From an anti-colonial self-determination point of view, the Eritrean case had strong moral and legal grounding. There's no doubt about this. The Ethiopian state had failed to respect the terms of federation or treat Eritreans as equals. So that is the truth. Agree, disagree, like it, don't like it. It is what it is. Number two, post-separation reality. Has Eritrea respected Ethiopia's sovereignty? It's a big question. This is where the original justification begins to erode due to Eritreans' action after separation. In 1998 to 2000, Ethio-Eritrean War, Eritrea invaded Badme, sparking a brutal war that killed tens of thousands. It was not Ethiopia who violated Eritrean territory, but the other way around. So, this is not the only thing. Eritrea keep backing insurgents and instability is being created in Ethiopia. See, Eritrean's regime under Isaias Afwerki became a militarized autocracy and pursued a regional strategy of divide and weaken. supported Ethiopian opposition groups, including armed rebels and extremists like Gimbot Savat, OLF, even before that, TPLF, Tigray Liberation Front, and so forth. No Ethiopian opposition group has been not supported by Eritrea. Eritrea also hosted training camps for anti-Ethiopian militants. Eritrea also played a role in fueling conflicts in Somalia, Djibouti, Sudan, and later Ethiopia again. So, 2020 to the present time, Eritrean forces intervened in Tigray war, not as a neutral actors, but with grievances and vendettas, targeting civilians and infrastructure. Well, the other truth is they are invited by the current Abiy Ahmed's government too. So there is a violation of trust here. Rather than focusing on peace and development, Eritrea became a wedge for continuous destabilization in the region, acting more as an enemy than a neighbor. Now that's about Eritrea. Now let's take a look at Ethiopia. That's number 3. Ethiopia's strategic errors. Ethiopia's leaders, from the Derg to EPRDF, made serious mistakes. Letting Eritrea secede without broad national consultation or parliamentary debate is one of the most crucial errors Ethiopians made under EPRDF, and TPLF had a bigger role on this. I apologize. Setting access to the sea without a national referendum or guarantees was another error. And the other Ethiopian error is relying on TPLF, EPLF alliances that later backfired as personal relationships took precedence over national interest. TPLF and EPLF elites never. So the way Eritrea's separation was handled was undemocratic, rushed, and lacking vision. This is my opinion, and it so too is true. In conclusion, was it justifiable? Yes, initially, Eritrea had a legitimate historical claim. But post-separation behavior made the case morally compromised. Eritrea, instead of building a peaceful sovereign nation, undermined regional peace and actively destabilized Ethiopia. It is betrayal of good neighborhoodness. Intervention in Ethiopian conflicts and military aggressions make the moral justification hollow in hindsight. Eritrea's independence is now a geopolitical reality, but whatever it has brought peace, justice, or dignity to Eritreans or Ethiopians is deeply questionable. It remains one of the most militarized and repressive states, and its ongoing interference in Ethiopian affairs has sowed suffering rather than healing. So true peace will only come when both nations face their pasts honestly and commit to unity of purpose, not forced union or endless vendetta. There are more I can unpack for you. Why the Eritrean-Ethiopian relationship, once bound by blood and struggle, turned into rivalry and destruction. That's the fifth, right? EPLF, Eritrean People Liberation Front, and TPLF, Tigray People Liberation Front, nexus, the seeds of fracture were already sown. During the liberation struggles, EPLF and TPLF collaborated tactically to defeat the Derg, but they were ideologically and strategically misaligned. EPLF was centralized, secretive, and pan-Eritrean, whereas TPLF was ethno-nationalist, Marxist-Leninist. Don't forget, that makes him the same as the Derg. And later on, it became opportunistic, pushing the idea of nations and nationalities. That is ethnic-based federalism, and the constitution is a poison. Despite military cooperation, trust was minimum, and competition over who would lead the Horn region began even before 1991. So here is the fatal flaw. Nation building was outsourced to armed fronts, with narrow ethnic or regional visions, not to an inclusive national consensus. Number 6, Eritrea's isolationist doctrine, the self-reliance trap. After independence, you see, Isaias Afwerki chose absolute autonomy. No aid, no political reform, no freedom. To some, this is very good. But dismantled civil society, outlawed opposition, jailed critics, rejected any regional cooperation unless it was under Eritrea's control. And it also pursued military-first development, turning the entire population into conscripts. Today, Eritrea became a state of permanent siege and paranoia, threatening even former allies as traits. And instead of creating a mutually beneficial post-independence order with Ethiopia, Eritrea focused on keeping Ethiopia weak, divided, and distracted. Take it or leave it. That is the truth. Number 7, the tragic irony is who lost more. It is tempting to say Ethiopia lost access to the sea. That is true. But Eritrea lost its soul, its promise, and its people. Over 500,000 Eritreans have fled, some drowning in the Mediterranean, others enslaved in Libya. Young Eritreans live in perpetual military service with no jobs, freedom, or future. The very just cause for liberation has been betrayed by post-independence tyranny. Eritrean independence liberated the land, but enslaved the people. Take it or leave it. That's what it is. Number 8, the Horn of Africa in flames. Who benefits from this? Eritrea's role in arming factions, sabotaging peace efforts, and militarizing alliances cannot be seen in isolation. It fits into a larger neocolonial design that keeps the Horn unstable, divided, and dependent on foreign powers. Ports, Red Sea routes, and mineral wealth are strategic assets being eyed by Gulf states. Europe and global powers. A stable, united Ethiopia or a democratic Eritrea would be a threat to that agenda. So, Eritrea became a gateway not only for anti-Ethiopian insurgents, but also for foreign manipulators. 9. What would a reimagined relationship look like then? See, the future must not be guided by revenge for the past, nor blind nostalgia for a united Ethiopia. Instead, we must ask, could Eritrea and Ethiopia create a confederation based on mutual respect and shared interests? Could a Red Sea Union emerge, with Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, and Sudan cooperating as sovereign equals? Could the youth of both nations lead a post-liberation generation movement, rejecting the chains of their elders? Unity is not always territorial. It can be spiritual, economic, cultural, and strategic. 10. Not every divorce is final. Eritrea's separation might have been a break from imperial centralism, but it should not be a break from brotherhood. If the Ethiopian and Eritrean peoples, not the elites, are allowed to speak, they may still choose reconciliation over rivalry, peace over posturing, and shared destiny over divided reunions. And I am fully sure to reach lasting peace between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and by extension among all peoples in the Horn of Africa, we must strip away illusions, crush manipulative elites, excuse me about that, strip away illusions, crush manipulative elite narratives, and offer radical but rooted solutions. So we have drafted a framework for truth telling and solution building, issuing by issue from the psychology of elites to material realities and geopolitical constraints. I call this gut issue number 1. Myth of eternal victimhood and exceptionalism. Eritrean and Ethiopian elites alike. The problem: elites in both nations feed their followers myth. Eritrean elites say we fought alone. We owe no one anything. The world is against us. Ethiopian elites say we are the mother civilization. All breakaway groups are traitors. Eritrea was always ours. The victimhood plus superiority complex turns into endless justification for violence, repression, and betrayal. So here is the solution. Launch a truth commission, co-led by civil society and diaspora intellectuals, to document betrayals on both sides. Not to shame, but to neutralize propaganda. Promote joint historical textbooks. Dwarfing Ethiopian history into 100 years is not going to cut it. So joint historical textbooks and media projects need to be promoted in audiovisual, digital archives, dramatized documentary series, or on what really happened between 1952 and 2025. That is enough. Establish a reconciliation day, not Independence Day versus Unity Day, but a shared day of brotherhood to reflect and rehumanize the people suffering the most. And gut issue number 2 be weaponization of ethnic and regional identity. The problem: Ethiopia's ethnic federalism and Eritrea's militarized nationalism are two sides of the same coin. Divide and control. Elites manipulate ethnic identity to justify exclusion while suppressing dissent in the name of national security or self-determination. The solution to this is abolish Article 39 of the Ethiopian Constitution while replacing it with a Charter of Cultural Rights, protecting language, heritage, and identity without enabling secession. I think Eritrea would like that too. For Eritrea, establish a national dialogue council, bringing exiled voices, diaspora youth, and military defectors into a process of reforming governance toward decentralizing. What happened when the current leader is unable to lead? Well, it's God's work. It's nature. Isaias Afwerki is growing old. He needs another leader for his country. And the country needs leaders. So there has to be region-wide, create a Horn Identity Summit, fostering shared identity across boundaries. See, colonial boundaries, they divided the same people into different states. These people have roots in music, oral tradition, like Sufi, Islamic, Christian legacies, and trade histories, and so many things. Get issue number 3, military industrial control over politics. The problem: both governments have merged the state and the military. Power is preserved through force, not legitimacy. Youth are trapped in endless conscription or recruited into regional wars. The solution to this is immediate demilitarization of domestic politics. I say domestic. No military official should hold executive office without a cooling off period of at least 5 years. That's my proposal. That's what we believe here in the peace advocacy. And then create a peace corps for the whole, not armed forces, but trained youth volunteers for reconstruction, education, and climate action. Introduce mandatory national service alternatives in health, education, and environment, not just military. Mengistu Haile Mariam, the Derg, used to conscript young people as mandatory national services alternatives in health, education, and what have you, have been promoted and they were effective. We call it Masarata Timurt. He was actually rewarded for that effort in his 83rd birthday just last week, Mengistu Haile Mariam. And he said, no, that goes to Haile Selassie. What a modest way to say. So these all the things help to rebuild the region and give youth a purpose. Get issue number 4, sea access and economic hostage taking. The problem: Eritrea sees its ports as bargaining chips to weaken Ethiopia. Ethiopia sees sea access as its natural right. This zero-sum attitude fuels tension and proxy wars. So the solution, in our opinion, is to propose an Ethiopian-Eritrean-Djibouti free maritime access agreement guaranteed by African Union and regional partners. African Union is something else, but something that represent the whole Africa. Sea access in exchange for joint port revenues, infrastructure investment zones, shared customs, and digital logistics. No one loses sovereignty. Everyone gains economic independence. Gut issue number 5. Foreign exploitation of fractured states. Look, there is a problem with that too. External powers exploit the region's division for Red Sea access, cheap resources, and proxy military bases. Gulf states, European Union, China, and United States play all sides, selling weapons, brokering fake peace, and enabling autocrats. Any peace that gained through these countries, these superpowers, is fake. So the solution is not to rely on them. Develop a Red Sea non-alignment compact Eritrea, Ethiopia, Sudan, Djibouti agreed to. No foreign military bases without regional parliamentary approval. Transparent investment in closure laws. A joint Red Sea Security Commission prioritizing local control of trade, migration, and maritime protection. We can bring Egypt into this cause. Egypt, because of Blue Nile, has a lot to do with what's happening in Ethiopia too. Gut issue number 6, diaspora confusion and manipulation. Diaspora communities are either frozen in old grievances or being mobilized by elites as online militias. They lack reliable truth, independent platforms, or coordinated purpose. The solution to this is to launch a Horn of Africa Global Assembly with yearly forum rotating between cities like Addis Ababa, Asmara when reformed, Nairobi, and Stockholm. Equip diaspora youth with peace tech tools like fact-checking networks, reconciliation apps, oral history podcasts, and AI-powered myth debunkers. AI is the future, and the future is here today, now. We can't escape it. And offer dual citizenship and civic training for diaspora to engage as bridge builders, not ideologues. Gut issue 7. No shared vision of the future. The problem, elites are stuck in the past, populations are disillusioned. There is no compelling shared dream to pull people forward. The solution for this is to create a Vision 2040, for instance, Horn of Africa Future Compact. Clean water and electricity for all, for instance. One passport for free movement across the region. Youth employment corridors. Joint space and AI research centers. Cross-border peace zones like ecological sanctuaries or historic pilgrimage path. So this is real, truth, heartfelt message for everybody. But our final message is to the elites. You will not be remembered for your power, but for what you did with it. Clinging to myth, borders, and weapons has led us here. Healing requires truth without shame, justice without vengeance, and unity without uniformity. We thank you very much. This is a part of our series in EHP book, and EHP, Ethiopian Hearts for Peace, in collaboration with AHP, which is African Hearts for Peace. My name is Abebe Nagash, and I thank you very much for listening. Again, today is May 31st, 2025. Thank you.